A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. As you can see, we're at GoaFest 2025. And I have with me a highly illustrious panel, the makers of GoaFest and, of course, industry leaders. So I'm hoping to have a very candid speak with each one of them. We're going to start out with, of course, analyzing GoaFest. It's been 18 years, or rather the 18th edition of GoaFest. What's remained the same? What's changed? We're going to do a SWOT analysis. And of course, we're also going to look at deeper contours of the industry, what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly. On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, for joining me right here. I'm going to open the floor with you, Rana, on 18th edition of GoaFest. As somebody who's seen this festival evolve from its inception to 2025, its purpose when it started had a stated vision. What is it in 2025? What is GoaFest delivering to the industry?
So thanks, Sonali. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think, if I just keep it simple and short for you. So I naturally wear multiple hats, both as president of Ad Club and the vice president of 3 years of IA. If I see it from both lenses, I think GoaFest has only become far more meaningful and engaging for the Indian advertising and marketing industry. We can see that. You can see the number of entries, you can see the number of people that are coming in, the clients, the agencies, and naturally as an award show, also it's become very big. GoaFest has naturally also become exciting because, it's over 2.5 days, the kind of people that we get on board, the scale, the size. So I think if you just see a plain evolvement, it's good that we become bigger. It's great that it's only getting into a scale where we've started adapting and adopting a lot of the newer conversations that's happening in the market. And what we also see is that, when we talk around, and, there is always going to be a critic or two who will say something or the other. But I can vouch for the fact that when you see around and talk to people and you see the happiness of the young people who are walking around and the kind of enthusiasm that you're seeing in the whole through the day or the evenings, I think this is something which is quite spectacular. So I'm very, very proud to be associated with both GoaFest and the Abbeys, both together.
It's my job to play devil's advocate, so allow me to do so. While I must congratulate both the Ad Club and the AAAs of I to keep the momentum going and actually hosting this year on year with a lot of effort. So I'm not taking that away, but it is also my job to play devil's advocate. When it first began, the concept was that you were going to be inspiring the advertising industry, right? So you had hordes of kids who came, who listened to their creative gurus, had the chance to actually meet and greet them and spend some time. It was inspirational for them to be part of this industry. We're anyway having a talent crunch. What I have observed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and anybody can take this, is over the years, we have seen, that young pool that comes here reducing, and it's quite visible. But we do see, of course, industry leaders coming here. So has the whole reason for the existence of GoaFest kind of shifted from actually inspiring the young to maybe inspiring the old?
I think we need to correct your observation a bit.
Sure.
It's very delighting to say that this year we actually have a lot of first-time GoaFesters, okay, and a lot more density of young people in that. In fact, as an initiative, we also had many of the people coming from universities also, right, who are want to be, joining industry. We had done that initiative. It's called Goa Freshers, right? I think there was a lot of mentoring done to them by a lot of leaders in the industry, right? And we also got feedback. It's a good program which we're doing on that. So data-wise, definitely there are a lot of youngsters. There are a lot of first-time GoaFesters.
So you don't agree with the fact that the young crowd from agencies,
Yeah.
See, and that's not particularly your fault or the organizing committee's fault. It might also be the market today, right? Because people have to spend money to send their young kids here. So don't take this as if it's an attack. I'm just saying as an observation that the number of young kids who are being sent to the festival seems to be highly diminished.
In fact, the numbers have only gone up.
Okay.
Right? We had more delegates this time. You also see the kind of partners who have come to GoaFest. If you look at from that angle itself, you will see that the diversity of talent which are in GoaFest, talking to them, engaging with them, has also improved a lot,
Right.
right? I mean, I heard from a very significant partner that except for one person, everybody was first time in Goa Fest, and most of them are youngsters, right? So definitely, it's not a defense. It is about clarifying it. What's also very interesting is that for this to keep a momentum, I think everyone is also trying to think of how to do new initiatives. So Goa Fresh is a new initiative, right? I think we had lots of masterclass this time
Yeah.
where the registrations were the highest, right? And that was very delighting again.
And coming from a slightly different perspective. I last came to Goa Fest in 2008 or 9. I wasn't in the industry for a long time, and then last year Goa Fest was in Bombay, so this is really Goa Fest for me after a long time. And one of the things that actually struck me is the energy of the young people here, and there were a lot of them. I hung out with some of the students last night, right, over in one of the after parties. And here's what I found interesting. Like when I came, I don't know what was it, 15 years ago, there were a lot of goggle-eyed young people looking up at the big stalwarts and learning from them. The dynamic seems to be changing a little bit. I think I learned from them, and I told them that this 15-minute conversation may have taught me more than it's taught you. And I've heard a lot of senior industry people say the same thing. So I think the texture of the interaction with young people and Goa Fest is also changing. It's not just the quantum or the number. And I think that's going to keep going up because we need to pick up from them as much as they pick up from us.
A note to you, Dheeraj, maybe they should be on stage next year.
To add a different perspective to this, I think the onus on sending young is also on the agencies.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, while
Absolutely.
we have to make sure that the content here is inspiring for young people. For example, in our group, we've made sure there's a young people because seniors go everywhere. We go to Cannes and so on and so forth. So we made sure the young people have come. And as PK said, if you were to come to the Avi Awards tonight, you'll see the whistles and the sound and the noise is coming from the young. So I think it's not just
Absolutely.
we wear double hats as an industry. We have to make it interesting for young people, but as an industry and agency, we have to make sure that young are represented here because 90% are nominated by the organizations, right? People don't just walk into Goa Fest. So it's also the onus on agencies, I would say.
Fair enough. Satya, you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I had a thought. Goa Fest itself, I think, is a teenager right now. 18 years is what
Yeah,
he said.
fair enough.
It's a teenager. It's growing. So I think it's at a delightful cusp, is the way I would say. It's a teenager becoming a little older. People out there are predominantly young who are winning. PK talked about all the young students, and I saw Sam surrounded by 30 youngsters, and Sam expounding. And it's delightful to see, the knowledge that gets transferred from the old to the young. And I think those are the moments to actually look out for.
Sure. As Bobby, as a regular who's kind of come, I think, for almost most of the editions, right? We've heard from the body that's actually hosting this, but somebody who has no stakes, if you could speak your mind.
You know what? Okay, I think bring back the rain dance, right? That's been a huge hit.
We got the rain gods to listen to your wish.
We got you the rain.
The rain gods are listening.
Okay. Ain't nobody dancing, right? Except the leaves in the trees. But no, seriously though, I think, GoaFest is an opportunity for youngsters to sort of mingle with people they kind of look up to. I don't know how much they look up to the older people now, but at least whose work they admire.
Right.
They may be 20 years older than them or 5, right? And that's where the magic of the platform is, when people can get to ask each other questions about how they came up with an idea, right? And that's where the learning happens, and it happens across the boundaries of agencies.
Sure,
Right? Otherwise, there's no this thing. Could we always do more to make that happen?
Absolutely.
Yes, right? And I think one of the things is that, maybe have masterclasses run by young people for young people, where that are moderated by somebody who is senior, but let them, let the animals run the zoo for a bit.
What I'm getting from most of you, right, in unison, is that basically Goa Fest is rocking, right? And we've reached the epitome of success when it comes to curating an advertising marketing festival. However, since I will play devil's advocate, I have a few observations, and this is just feedback. In the earlier years or the earlier editions, and this is also, the onus is not on you, the onus is also on the industry, I see the participation of marketers also kind of diminished. right? I don't see marketers as much as I see agency folk. And media agency, both creative agency. I don't see marketers here. I see the curation, which is amazing that you guys have put together. This is a voluntary job, so we respect that. But the curation of the festival seems to be very Bollywood inclined, and this has been happening for a few years. My question is there a reason for this? Are we looking to get inspired more from Bollywood actors, from cinema, and advertising wants to borrow from it? Because I don't see people like you who run agencies, who are on the ground, who are facing challenges in this rather complex time, talking about real issues.
You know, GoaFest is rocking. I think GoaFest is a rock, and the ing will continue.
Yes, Babita.
To your first question, Sonali, on marketers overall, see, compared to, say, 18 years ago, we do have a lot more industry events now.
Sure, yeah.
Where, the budget is the same, right,
Correct.
for attendees. So it's not like you don't want to be a participant or you don't want to go there. It's just that you have a lot of other things where you're using the same dollar kitty, right? And because of that, it's always a bit dissipated. So that could be part of your observation. It's not like an event has diminished.
So if you look at GoaFest as a journey, rather than saying 2 sessions on the stage, and we could debate the
relevance
of 1 or 2 sessions, right? So I don't want to defend why there's Bollywood or why Kareena Kapoor is there. But if you look at the holistic experience of GoaFest, which is master classes, stage, awards, interacting with your peers, interacting with your leaders, watching the work, going on stage, celebrating the industry, right? That as an experience, I think is very, very relevant, is for the young and brings the whole industry together.
How is the talent, not at GoaFest, but generally for the industry, what kind of because the talent crunch has been a conversation for over a decade. Have you seen a change? And this is to all of you who are actually practitioners in the industry. Are you seeing more people interested in joining the advertising world? Are you going back to the IIMs who want to kind of come here, or are we still struggling with that?
See, the IIM boat, the ship has sailed, right? Because the kind of money they get
Satya?
offered is crazy.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying because he's an IIM graduate, that's why.
Ask him whether you want to join and advertise. The money just doesn't work, right? And so that's this thing. But there are young people. See, there'll always be creative people who want to express themselves, right? Right now, what happens is there are many more platforms in which they can do it. So advertising has to compete with all of those things.
Absolutely.
On recruiting the young, Sonali, I think the pedigreed institutions may not be the only hunting grounds. And perhaps for some, it may not be that, because the industry's changed, to PK's point, right? We are also looking collectively at values. For example, your hunger, your appetite, your creativity. Are you a digital native? What is your attitude towards the kind of work that we do? All of those which we didn't. Of course, inclusiveness is one part of it. I think the bigger question that all of us collectively are looking at answering, and we are making efforts to do that, is how do we retain this good talent? Because once you get into the industry and get the hunger and get the experience, there are a lot of other related ecosystem places where you could go to, perhaps. And as an industry, it's very important for us to keep retaining and keep that mojo going, the kind of learning and development, tools, exposure, events like this, which always makes you feel like you are in the right place and you don't have to look out.
Sure. Satya?
Yeah, no, build on that, right? I think you talked about talent and IIMs and all that. I think that question is passé, purely because I think access to talent and talent is actually now so democratized, right? I was speaking to a CEO from the creative industry a couple of years back, and he was talking about how he's actually hiring from the smallest of towns, because the consumer is now in the smallest of towns, not just in a Mumbai, but in the Muzaffarabad, right? So to be able to speak that language and understand that nuance, you don't need someone from a IIM or a Bombay to come and be there as a part of the industry.
To her point, that do I want to go to IIM today? Perhaps not, because...
So you don't want to go there?
Yeah, because I might be day 2, day 3 there. My clients are not saying mirror the same structure in the agency. My clients are saying, do you have people who are native to digital, who can build content, who can build journeys? They're not saying, come and give me sales strategy, which probably was an ask of an agency brand 20 years back. They know their sales strategy, they know their business strategy. They're saying the comms ecosystem becomes so complex. Do you have people who understand brand, who understand journeys, who understand consumers in their nuances, have the ability to bring data, content, tech together, and therefore we are hiring accordingly. Right, and we're going to institutes. But yeah, there's data on the table. We've hired 110. How it goes is a story for next year and next 2-3 years. But I'm sure every agency is making that initiative. And yes, I want to go on record to say that we are really, really attractive at the campuses.
I actually think that too much of a deal is made about this industry's inability to hire young talent. Is it difficult to attract and nurture young talent? Yes. Is it more difficult in this business than any other? Absolutely not. I think our clients, I think many sectors are facing the same challenges with young talent as this business is. But we are in no way, as an industry, disadvantaged. I see actually today, even relative to 3 or 4 years back, I see this industry attracting a lot more young people who are having a much more fun time and doing better work. And the democratization of what we are calling creativity is helping with that. So I refuse to agree to anyone who today tells me that advertising does not attract young people. I really disagree with that.
Great, I'm happy to see the problem seems to be solved.
In the old days, I'll talk specifically about creative, right? You look to hire freaks, right, in the creative department. Because they're the ones who brought the imaginative creative energy to the floor.
Sure.
Right? Today you want freaks and geeks. And better yet, geeky freaks, right? And so those are the kinds of people who the needs must. Yeah, the times are changing. What is a creative person will change as well. Right?
Fair enough.
And as the business adapts, so will the creative people and everybody else around it. The
So
talent
to
will
bring
adapt to that.
bring the conversation of talent back to the GoaFest, okay, and its relevance. I think that we are attracting people, and if we are, that's amazing. Very often, I'm not sure we can retain good talent, and I'll tell you why. The agency kids want to go to the client side. The client side have so many options, and they may just get out of our fold.
Also,
and
better
never
pay,
to come
better
back.
pay.
Much better paid, and they may never come back. So for me, and I've historically done it, I think I don't even remember more than a decade, whenever I've come here, I've always brought my teams and big numbers out here, whether on the advertising side or the client side.
Sure.
And the reason is to keep them inspired, because what they're doing in the early years or formative years is just scrubbing the decks. And that's not this industry. You have to get them to survive that early period when they are scrubbing the decks, to then realize what they can do and what they can be. And that's what they learn out here. Otherwise, you're working on one account, 2 accounts, you're working on one brand or 2 brands, and you are just used to your day to night running and rushing and doing the routine.
If I could just add.
I want to shift gears,
I
Rana,
know.
and I want to ask you first. No, enough of talent, yeah.
Okay.
She's
What-
accepted enough of
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear your
Yeah.
next one.
What's the state of the advertising industry? Because the industry mirrors the economy, right? We know that several categories are kind of suffering. There is, consumers are feeling the fatigue because of inflation. Salaries are not going up. Jobs, people are getting laid off. So we're seeing across categories, there is this big struggle. I'm assuming that the advertising industry, because till now, whatever we spoke, everything is hunky-dory. Congratulations on that. But the point is, how is this? What is the state of the industry, given the fact that clients are tightening their wallets and are becoming cautious because, that's the need of the hour?
You're talking about India.
Yes.
If you look at Asia per se, and I'm talking from an Asia perspective, the clarity is very, very, very clear that India is going to be leading this part of the world in every form and every conversation, whether you look at it in terms of talent, which we are not discussing anymore, or in terms of business, or in terms of many growth aspects. Maybe the only aspect where we keep getting challenged is the value of a currency, because the value of your currency when you do any form of conversion globally kind of impacts the whole, and which is why you'll always hear a game of volume, value, volume kind of a conversation, and thinks that India is a maybe a much more economy.
Hey, India is great, yeah, accepted. How is the advertising industry doing?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing any flux. I'm not seeing any
You're
flux.
saying so basically,
There is-
you've managed your target, your bottom line, your balance sheet is looking
It's fine.
healthy.
It's fine.
Yeah?
It's
Yeah?
there are challenges like any other issues. You can see many industries going up, many industries coming down. There are issues which happen around you.
Yeah, so let's talk about
the
that
only
now.
thing that you need to keep in mind
Ah.
for the advertising industry is, and if that question is pertaining to that, there is clarity that we need to, like when we were talking about talent, which is why I was trying to link that point, that there is a bit of a clarity in the kind of structuring that's coming out. So what Ajay was saying was historically a way of structuring and way of working is changing. So you're going to have a leaner structure, maybe better paying structures, lesser people doing greater jobs, and a much more professionally run organization because it is the need of the hour. AI is in.
Am I to then assume that the cumulative population of the advertising industry is set to shrink? Let me ask Satya, the question is YouTube, the big behemoth, who threatens everybody, and for a minute, if you can just remove your at club, AAAs of iHat and speak to me as Google, and somebody who everybody is threatened by, especially the YouTube kind of momentum, how do you view it?
No, this is nothing, no threat there at all. First of all, you can see the smile on my face. I think
The threat is inside, my friend.
I think the thing to really understand is actually how the industry is changing, and in it there is the answer to what people are watching or consuming and things like that, right? I think years ago, if I had a conversation with anybody at WPP, I was a brand manager once. I remember having a conversation with VR Rajesh at that point of time. The conversation was about the 30-second commercial starring Amitabh Bachchan that would air on TV.
Right.
The conversation that I'm having now with PK is about cloud and AI. Okay, and he's doing a damn good job at answering that conversation, by the way. Okay, I think models have changed in the entire marketing and advertising industry for sure. Earlier, the conversation would be about, okay, what's the big creative idea? But now conversations are prefaced by saying that, okay, there's commerce that's going to happen at the end of this creative idea. Is it going to also drive that, right?
Yeah,
Earlier conversations were distinct. There were two teams who talked about, one team talking about branding, the other about performance. It's not about branding or performance, it's brandformance, right?
Right.
So marketers, agencies are thinking brandformance at the same time at this point.
Right.
Earlier, the conversation would be about, okay, after the campaign is over, let's analyze the data. But now, data is analyzed first, and then entire campaigns are built using the insights that come out of it.
I would say two specific shifts which are happening at an agency model level, right? One is, what's my source of revenue? So to give an example of FCD, right? 20 to 30% of my revenue now comes from non-core services. Production, influencer, commerce, data, CRM, right? Which wasn't the scenario when you looked at our P&Ls 10 years back.
Sure.
Right? So the source of revenue, the pie is shifting for sure. That's a big fundamental shift, and that's reflecting what advertising is shape-shifting to as a business model. Second is the kind of talent, again going back, that is coming on board. So we are hiring producers. We are hiring content people. We are hiring data people. We are hiring technologists, right? And that's, again, the shape of people walking the corridors of advertising is changing.
Right.
So two dramatic shifts in the model itself of how the agency is being run today is happening, and that reflects the conversation in the room.
So I think, I'll give you a perspective since, there is a seamlessness of operations that I run. And I can tell you both again, I'll give you a different perspective. And again, look at from an India or an Asia perspective again. It's, if you ask for a media operation, sometimes I feel that media actually adopted this whole change faster. And they knew what things were happening because they were directly interacting with the client's budget. So that made a big difference because every time the client's budget was getting split, the media agency would always know what's happening. When I look at my own network, I see the media agency has moved far, far smarter and better, much ahead of times, let's say, from the creative agency. Media agency conversations is what we are talking here. It's about data, it's about commerce, it's about non-essential services. We talk about sports, we talk about entertainment, we talk about culture. One of my biggest drivers of growth is actually coming from an entire vertical called Havas Play. Play has nothing to do with data or technology. It's IPs. It's creation of sports, entertainment, culture.
Sure.
Now that's a big, big driver for us because we see that's media and that's where clients are spending money. So if you look at a media and a creative ecosystem, they thrive together, which is why some of the changes that you're seeing which is why words like integration, conversations of consolidation, working together, data, technology, commerce, market, all working together, resulting in creativity, is coming back. I'm enjoying that change because we are in the cusp of a change that we grew up with. We came to this industry where everything was together. We are slowly rewinding back to that industry where you know that I cannot create a creative campaign if I don't have data.
I think the industry spent a lot of time talking about the need to change and not making the change. And today, we still have those cost pressures and investment pressures that any growing business has. And this is a growing business, by the way. But we are on a very, very strong path because we have adopted change. Now it's happening. It's real.
You talked about talent and then we didn't talk about talent, but I want to talk about talent again, which is, when people ask me what kind of people will you hire, I have actually a very simple answer, which is I hire people who have high agency. Okay, pun intended. Given all the changes that are happening in the economy, in the industry and all of that, right? If I were to bet my last dollar on folks who can actually get me from here to there, it would be folks sitting here from an agency. This mic is about to drop.
We were waiting for that.
Well, on that note, I think the advertising industry, as per, all you captains, is flourishing. There seems to be, doesn't matter whether I agree or not. But love your optimism. More power to you, and may this industry flourish. There don't seem to be many issues. Everybody is doing very well. Everybody's in the green. No margin pressures. No undercutting. So all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.